catching something amazing. I was actually looking at it on my screen right now, and I was like, "Wow, we did this well." It is actually here. We did something like this. I'm sure you find it beautiful right there. So we did something looking so beautiful. If you're able to see it on YouTube anyway, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, X, so you're able to see that. Yeah, we did that. We're basically trying to build solutions for that will mitigate some of the challenges we're facing that are being brought about by the climate change and also the food insecurity. So this is a solution for the farmers where they can feed all their data and make calculations whenever they wish and store it safely, and they can do it remotely from anywhere and everything happens for them. So basically that's what we did early today or this morning. Now I got a friend of mine who asked me that they wanted me to talk deeper about the carbon credits. Now, basically, before I close the other topic, you can check out that video for the recording for the programming we did. We actually did it from scratch, step by step, and we didn't skip any code. Every code, we did everything from start to finish, explaining every line of code. So, if you're a person interested in data visualization, data analysis, you're interested in Python programming, products development, where you want to develop something for you, and I mentioned it when I was shooting that if even if you just started up to senior 4, senior 6, with a little bit of mathematics, even the primary mathematics will be enough for you. You will be able to develop this platform the way I developed it. So the way I did it. So the way we did it, you will be able to do it. So you don't need to reach university and all that to be able to do this. It's very easy. Python, more like English language. That's exactly what we did. And I'm very confident you can do it and you'll be able to do it. Now, I wanted to touch base on the carbon credit insights, and this is for the podcast. So basically, but I've decided to stream it so that everyone can is able to see it anyway, and is able to relate because I got so many people asking me to talk about the carbon credit. So I said, okay, I'll talk about the carbon credit insights on my podcast. So if you're streaming from all the Apple Podcast, you're on Amazon Music, you're streaming from YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and all those different streaming platforms that where we are. So I'm very happy that you're streaming, and all this is brought to you by Achilles Akesho. It's making change in the spaces of climate change, making changes in the spaces of food insecurity with the hands-on skills and also the theoretical insights that are practical in nature in terms of the explanation that I do throughout as we move forward. Now, basically, I am an environmental enthusiast, and also I'm a researcher, a big time scientific researcher, and I am thrilled to have you join us today. Now, in this podcast today, we dive deep into the world of carbon credits and their history, impact, and their practical applications, particularly focusing on Africa and uh, the East African community. Now, just to give you a little bit of insights on the history of this, basically, uh, I mentioned before that I love listening to African music. A lot, a lot. Especially, for example, if you've listened to the Zulu kind of music, real Africa, the real Africa, not the Western Africa, no, the real Africa. So basically, if you look at, let me hope the mic is really close to me, but if you look at the carbon credit, these were basically introduced as part of the Kyoto Protocol in 1997. So the aim was basically to create a market based mechanism to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So some organizations that around that time and countries allocated a certain number, they got allocated a certain number of credits which represent the right to emit 1 ton of carbon dioxide. So if they emit less than their allocation, they can sell the excess credits to others. So this creates a financial incentive to basically reduce emissions. Now, the emerging technologies like the blockchain, they're actually revolutionizing the carbon credit markets by providing transparent and immutable records of carbon transactions. Now, the blockchain technology ensures that each carbon credit is tracked from its creation to its retirement, reducing the risk of double counting and fraud in this particular area. Now, since the introduction, carbon credits have had a significant impact on global efforts to combat climate change. They have encouraged businesses and governments to invest in renewable energy efficiently, and also investment in energy efficiency and other sustainable practices. Now, for example, the European Union emission trading system, it has been instrumental in reducing emissions across Europe. And similarly, voluntary carbon markets have enabled companies to offset their emissions and achieve carbon neutrality. Now, if you look at artificial intelligence and machine learning, these are being used to improve accuracy of emissions monitoring and verification. And these technologies can analyze large data sets to identify patterns and anomalies, ensuring that carbon credits are based on accurate and reliable data. Now, let's have a little bit of focus on Africa here. If you look at Africa, Africa's role in carbon credit markets is actually growing, and the continent has vast potential for renewable energy projects, reforestation, and other initiatives that can generate carbon credits. However, there are challenges, for example, the lack of infrastructure, the financial and the regulatory frameworks. Actually, I speak about this in my paper that is going to come out in IEEE this year. I'm going to be presenting it in Ottawa, Canada, from April 27th to 3rd. I'm going to be presenting a paper that is related to. I performed an analysis on the infrastructure and legal and the policies that we have, and I was saying these are limiting the adoption to technology, and and this is true because for the last decades I have not seen any product on the global market that we're proud of. So countries like Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda are actually leading the way with innovative projects. And this has been seen whenever they are ranking the most entrepreneurial countries in Africa. For instance, if you look at the Kenya's geothermal projects and reforestation initiatives, they have actually generated substantial carbon credits. So the use of remote sensing and satellite imagery is actually enhancing the whole monitoring of reforestation and afforestation projects. These technologies, they provide the real-time data on forest cover, following more allowing for more accurate calculations of carbon sequestration. Now, if we touch a little bit deeper into the East African community, and this follows the research I did previously in that paper. If you look at Kenya, Kenya is a leader in renewable energy in Africa with significant investments in geothermal, wind and solar power. But then the country has also implemented reforestation projects that actually generate carbon credits. And these projects have not only reduced emissions, but also created jobs and empowered the livelihoods. Now, if you look at Tanzania, still following the research that I did, it has potential in hydroelectric power and reforestation. However, the country faces challenges like limited access to financial and expertise. And if only we can address these challenges, Tanzania can unlock significant opportunities in the carbon credit market. If you look at Uganda, still in my research, Uganda is focusing on reforestation and renewable energy projects. Actually, today there are so many in so many companies that are giving out free trees to whoever wants to plant. They're supporting many initiatives out there with people, launching different initiatives. For example, we had the launch of the Innovation Hub, the Cavendish University uh, Climate Change Hub. And when we launched the Climate Change Hub, of course, the government came, the Minister of Environment, I'll call it that, and so many other ministries, I think of Foreign Relations, represented by my friend Cynthia, who leads on the communications. They all came through, so many ministers came through in the launch, and we were provided free trees to plant. You get that? We were given free trees to plant. I've forgotten the other organizations that actually brought trees. Quite a number of those organizations brought trees. So you find that the government of Uganda is working so hard to create favorable regulatory environment for carbon credit projects, which can attract investment and drive sustainable development. Now, if you look at the other rest of East Africa, the Rwanda, Burundi, and South Sudan, of course, Rwanda is known for its environmental conservation efforts, and also Burundi. For Burundi and South Sudan, they're in the early stages of exploring carbon credit opportunities. And these countries can actually benefit from the regional collaboration and the knowledge sharing that we're doing, that I am doing, you know. So if you now look properly at carbon credit, we notice that it can be a significant source of revenue. And I believe investing in projects that reduce emissions, countries and businesses can generate credits that can be sold on the global market. And this not only helps in combating climate change, but also provides the financial returns at the end of the day. Now, someone was asking me, we're chatting with a friend, she's into diplomacy, and was telling me that I want you to touch base on the mathematical calculations of carbon credits. And I was telling my friend that the calculation of carbon credits basically involve determining the amount of greenhouse gas emissions reduced or avoided by a project. And I was telling him that if you want to calculate this properly, then you need to have a clear methodology that may touch on, let's say, the baseline emissions, where you calculate the baseline emissions, basically these emissions that would have occurred without the project, and also the project emissions, which are the emissions that occur as a result of the project. And then you'd have something like the emissions reduction being equal to the baseline emissions minus the project emissions. However, you need to do verification and certification. And I was telling this friend of mine that you need to verify the emission reductions through third party audits. And also, you need to obtain certifications for the verified emission reductions. And this is something you can advise as a listener, or you an expert in the field. You can add a voice by basically maybe commenting in the forums we're listening through on the different channels, or you can make a request to pitch further about this, and I can host you on this podcast, and we can have the discussion, and you can basically dig deeper or give insights, which I can learn from, and all the rest of the people that listen to this podcast. So we went deeper into this conversation, and we're looking at the practical steps to implement the carbon credit projects. And I was informing my friend, plus the other colleagues, of course, wasn't one. I was informing them that you need to start with project planning. And project planning is going to involve identifying the potential projects that can generate carbon credits. And then you need to conduct feasibility studies and then assess the potential emission reductions. Then after that, you need to go to the project development where you have to design and implement the project. So you'll have to develop a monitoring plan to track the emissions, the emission reductions. Then I talked about registration as well, where I told them that you'll have to register the project with a recognized carbon credit standard and also submit the project documentation for review and approval. And then also, I talked about the monitoring and verification, which is key to the process, where you have to monitor the project's performance and you track the emission reductions. And also, you have to conduct regular verification audits by accredited third party verifiers. And then lastly, we talked about, I told them about to obtaining certification for the emission reductions and also issue carbon credits and also sell them on the carbon market. So basically that was the discussion we had, and it was really amazing, and because there was a lot, and there's a lot already that we need to touch base on. Now, before I close this, I wanted to speak about a few case studies and some bit of real world examples here, talking about Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya. And I talked previously about the Kenya's geothermal projects, which I studied so well myself in the research. And these projects have been highly successful in actually generating carbon credits. And these projects have not only reduced emissions, but also provided clean energy to millions of people. And for the Tanzania's hydro electric power, that investment there in a in hydroelectric power, it has the potential to actually generate significant carbon credits. And I believe by improving access to the financing and the technical experts, I believe Tanzania can further expand its renewable energy projects, you know. And for the Uganda's reforestation initiatives, these have greatly actually contributed to the carbon sequestration and also the biodiversity conservation. So these projects have created jobs and they have actually improved livelihoods in rural communities. And I've always said that for every solution you build innovatively. You need to keep in mind that there is a bit of the entrepreneur aspect where jobs will be created for people to also reduce on unemployment. So we have discussed quite a lot the history on the carbon credits, their global impact and the potential in Africa and the East African community. And we have also explored practical ways to overcome challenges and the financial benefits of carbon credits. So if you've basically enjoyed this bit of episode, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, YouTube, and all those different platforms you're on. So don't forget to leave your comments and questions. I'll be able to read them and address them. And this is how I learned about the people who became my friends, who wanted to know more about the carbon credits. So this is going all over on Twitter, which is X, on Facebook. You can do a hashtag of carbon credit insights and share with your friends. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in to this Carbon Credit Insights podcast. And I want you to stay tuned for our next episodes where I'll dive deeper into the financial benefits of the carbon credits in more detail. So, really, thanks. I really, really appreciate this. Now, a friend of mine has just mentioned that no, I want you to touch the financial benefits of carbon credits before I drop off. Okay, just to talk about it anyway. I don't even know. Let me see. How many minutes have I used for this? Sorry, something just dropped to me. I've used 20 minutes. Okay. Maybe in just 10 minutes. I can talk about it anyway. 10 minutes. Okay. Anyway, now, like I mentioned before, the carbon credits, they actually represent a reduction of 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide emissions. And I mentioned that these are tradable certificates, or they are basically permits that allow the holder to emit a certain amount of carbon dioxide. So the primary financial benefit of carbon credit lies in their tradable nature, allowing the entities to sell surplus credits in carbon markets. This friend of mine has really got me deeper into this, and I was thinking about that. Maybe I'll make another episode for this. Anyway, now if you look at the revenue generation, the businesses and the governments can actually generate significant revenue by participating in carbon credit markets. How can they do this anyway? If you look at the carbon offset projects, the companies can actually invest in projects that reduce or remove greenhouse gas emissions. For example, the renewable energy, reforestation, or the methane capture projects. Now, these projects generate carbon credits, which can be sold to other companies seeking to offset their emissions. Uh, if we are to look into the compliancy markets, now in the regions with the mandatory carbon trading schemes, for example, the European Union emission trading system, the companies are required to hold enough carbon credits to basically cover their emissions. Now, if a company reduces its emissions below its allocated credits, it can sell the surplus credits for profit. However, we also have the voluntary markets where the companies can also participate in voluntary carbon markets where they purchase carbon credits to offset their emissions and achieve carbon neutrality. Now, this particularity appealing to companies with sustainability commitments as it enhances their corporate social responsibility profile. There is a lot of cost saving right there because, in addition to generating revenue, carbon credits can lead to significant cost savings. Now, let's look a little bit on energy efficiency. By investing in the energy efficiency measures, the companies can reduce their energy consumption and consequently their carbon emissions. Now, the reduction in energy costs coupled with the generation of the carbon credits can lead to substantial financial savings. If you look into the um, if you look into how to avoid some bit of penalties, and you're looking into the regions with strict carbon regulations, you find that there companies that fail to comply with emission reduction targets, they do actually face the hefty fines. And participating in carbon credit markets, companies can actually ensure compliancy and they can actually avoid these penalties. So the carbon credit market actually offers a lot of opportunities for financial gain. someone has ever talked about the carbon finance. I was listening to a certain podcast, and someone was talking about the carbon finance, and they were saying that the financial institutions are increasingly recognizing the value of carbon credits as an asset class. And they're saying that companies can leverage carbon credits to secure financing for sustainability projects using the credits as collateral. Actually, that one really blew my mind out because it really got me thinking about a lot of things. Because I'm good at doing thinking outside the box. I do both critical and lateral thinking at the same time. And I was thinking about the investment in the green technologies, and I was thinking that blockchain and AI, since they're enhancing the transparency and the efficiency of carbon credit markets, you know, there's a lot of amazing things in here. Because I was thinking that the blockchain itself does ensure the traceability and the immutability of the carbon credit transactions, and therefore it can reduce the risk of fraud. And at the same time, I was thinking that the AI and the machine learning improving and looking into the betterment, if it's the word I can use, or improving the accuracy of emission monitoring and then verification, ensuring that the carbon credits are based on reliable data. You know, so this whole thing got me thinking a lot of things because I got to think about some real world examples that can illustrate these bits of financial benefits. And I was going back to the research I had, which is related to the Kenya's geothermal projects. And I was thinking that Kenya has invested heavily in geothermal energy, generating substantial carbon credits. And I felt that these projects not only provide clean energy to millions, but also generate revenue through the sale of the carbon credits itself. And with the Tanzania's hydroelectric power, I was thinking the investment into this, it has the potential to generate a significant carbon credits, like I mentioned, and it can improve access to financial and the technical expertise. And you know, if this is brought in the country, this improvement can happen, and you can see that Tanzania can further expand its renewable energy projects and can also benefit financially. And also, when I thought about the reforestation initiatives in Uganda and all the free trees being given out every day to everybody to plant the trees and whoever wants, I felt like this has really contributed to carbon sequestration and also biodiversity conservation. And I believe that these projects generate carbon credits, and these credits can be sold to generate revenue and support community development. I'm just I like to put these dots all together to just realize the power of innovation and how communities can be better socially and economically. So this whole thing gets me to think about the emerging technologies and how they are playing a crucial role in enhancing the financial benefits of carbon credits. The transparency and traceability of the carbon credit transactions in the blockchain, the immutability record of carbon credits, reducing the risk of double counting and the fraud, the improvement of the accuracy of emission monitoring and verification by the AI and machine learning, the analysis of the large data sets to basically identify patterns and anomalies, ensuring that the carbon credits are based on accurate data, and also looking into the remote sensing and the satellite imagery, the enhancement in the monitoring of reforestation and afforestation projects, and also the provision of the real-time data on forest cover changes, basically this allowing more accurate calculation of the carbon sequestration. So basically, I don't want to take all the hours because there's a lot I can talk about this, but in summary, I have brought, you know, brought out the carbon credits, and it's the significance is in here, the financial benefits for the businesses, the governments, and the communities. And also, I feel participating in carbon credit markets, the entities can actually generate a lot of revenue and also achieve cost savings and create market opportunities. So these emerging technologies that are coming out, and the youth and we so excited about, the blockchains, the AI, I feel they can enhance these benefits and they can improve transparency, efficiency, and accuracy. If we can only change our behavior and use them for the better, we can do quite a lot. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to leave your comments, those hearts flying up on the screen, the questions, just put them below. And you can join the discussion on this on Twitter, on Facebook, Carbon Credit Insights. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Carbon Credit Insight podcast. And stay tuned for our next episode where I'll dive deep into some bit of the practical applications and the case studies of carbon credits, which I've mentioned a few, but maybe I'll have quite a number to talk about. And feel free to tell me what you want me to talk about, what you want me to cover, what you want me to explain to you, or to explain to you and give you some bit of research perspectives. Not to say that you don't have the info, you do, but basically discussions, support, decisions. So until next time, this is Edison Kagona. I'm signing off with a bye bye. And this has been greatly supported by Achilles Zakesho, and also fully and highly supported by Cavendish University, Uganda, where I work as the manager of the Center for Innovation and Enterprise. I love discussions. I love seeing people creative. I love seeing businesses coming out. I love innovation. I love research. I love, learning about people's findings, and I love speaking to the world. And I love giving out free knowledge and skills to the world, especially Africa, because I believe if the economic growth is low, people don't have money, then knowledge shouldn't be expensive for them. We should make it cheap for them. The skills should be cheap for them. Let's speak out to the world. Let's speak out to the rest of the people. Let's see how they can translate everything we speak out to them for the betterment. So thank you so much. It's been your podcast on this matter of carbon credits, though we touched elements on agri-tech, and I had to leave this screen busy with the system that we developed in the session we had early today. If you want to check out the session or learn how to develop the system that you see on screen, the agriculture produce pricing and the solar energy usage system for farmers, go on the YouTube channel, type in basically on YouTube, type Achilles Zakesho, what you're seeing on screen, and basically check out within the live. You'll be able to see all those episodes. Watch from episode 1, take it step by step, one at a time, and trust me, before the week ends, you're going to be a senior developer, great and high understanding of Python, data analysis, and working on a project from start to the end, how to develop modules, scripts, combine them together to form programs, combine programs together to form a software. Thank you so much. Until next time, bye bye.